Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. This is going to be my patch 10.15 Affliction Warlock DPS guide. In it, we're going to be covering talents, single target AOE, gearing, rotations, basically everything you need to know to be an Affliction Warlock heading into 10.15. Now, things have changed a bit in 10.15 comparatively to 10.1. Some seeds cast time has been reduced. We've gotten some new talents in Xavius Gambit, and overall, Aff's gotten a big quality of life increase. So while it might be similar to where it was in 10.1, it's worth highlighting new talent builds, new rotations, so some things have indeed changed. Now, like always, we can work out on some profiles down below. Links to Twitch and Discord if you want them all. They're all in there for free for you guys. At the same time, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons, like always. You're all supporting on Patreon, guys, a million times. I really appreciate it. If you look at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. With that being said, let's get right on into it. So when it comes to affliction changes heading into patch 10.15, there are a handful of them, but it is a massive quality of life increase for the affliction lock enjoyers out there like myself. So developers note the number of casts required for affliction to be properly set up is high, and something that can feel especially punishing in multi-target situations and PvP. We're replacing Malefic Affliction and implementing changes to Dread Touch and Doom Blossom to make Affliction's rotation more accessible and less punishing. Huge changes. Awesome. MA has been a pain for a very long time. Good to see it removed. New talent, Xavius' Gambit. Unstable Affliction deals 15 and 30% increased damage. Xavius' Gambit is located where Malefic Affliction used to be. It is right here in the class tree. Malefic Affliction used to say whenever you rapture, it would give you an increase to Unstable Affliction based on the number of stacks of Malefic Affliction. It reached a max of 39%, I believe. Xavius' Gambit is just straight up, hey, you apply UA, it's doing 30% more damage. Awesome, good to see. They've also buffed Unstable Affliction by 10% to compensate for that 39% on Malefic Affliction, comparatively to 30 on Xavius' Gambit. Also good to see. Dread Touch has been redesigned. Similar but different. Malefic Rapture causes targets suffering from your UA, targets for PvP, to take 30% additional damage from your damage overtime effects for 8 seconds. So duration's the same, 8 seconds, but basically whenever you apply UA to a target and Rapture one time, it triggers Dread Touch. Not 3 times to stack MA and then Rapture again a 4th time for Dread Touch trigger. Just one time. Great. Huge quality of life increase. If a UA falls, you die or whatever, it was so punishing having to restack MA. It felt terrible. This feels so much better. It also gives you a bit more burst in your opener because you Rapture one time, your dots are hitting much harder comparatively to Rapturing 4 times and then hitting for the same amount. On top of that, we have Doom Blossom being redesigned. This is also a big change. When Seeded Corruption damages targets suffering from your Unstable Affliction, they explode for shadow damage. So this has changed a lot when it comes to the bottom row of this tree. We'll get into talents in a minute here, but for the most part, talents up here stay the same based on the scenario you're in, but Doom Blossom has changed a lot. When Seeded Corruption deals damage to your UA target, that they explode, dealing damage to surrounding enemies. So this works per Seeded Corruption. It's not the seed that you cast on that target, because there are 3 seeds if you're playing so. It is whenever a seed explodes and hits that target. So this explodes multiple times from one seed cast, and the damage it puts out is very strong, more than double what old Doom Blossom did. So this might shift a lot of M+ builds to play Doom Blossom even in certain maybe tyrannical settings, just for how strong it is with baseline seed. And so we'll get to that in a little bit though. And the final change here, Seed of Corruption's cast time been reduced to 2 seconds, was 2.5. This is also a hasted cast time. My current seed cast time is 1.6 with the baseline 2-second duration. So also a huge quality of life change. You can see how much better Aff's going to feel in M+, with Malefic Affliction being gone, Doom Blossom being better, Dread Touch being redesigned, and the reduced cast time on Seeded Corruption. If you're an Aff enjoyer, you should be pumped for 10.15. Let's get into talents. So when it comes to talent builds for Affliction Warlock in 10.15, they're actually pretty similar, at least the single target ones, to the build you play in 10.1. Now, this is going to be the Haunted Soul single target build, Haunted Soul being this talent here. This is going to be the general build you play. This is the best, most well-rounded build of Affliction in single target. A very flat, sustainable single target damage profile. You spike a bit when you pet pressure Dark Lair, and a bit every half minute or so with Vile Taint and things when you Rapture more. For the most part, this build just casts dots, it maintains them, it casts Vile Taint basically on cooldown, and keeps Dread Touch active, giving a strong, consistent, but pretty flat damage profile. The other option here is going to be the Malevolent Visionary build. Now this build is more cooldown based. Your Dark Glare lasts half a minute. I'll change this. Malevolent Visionary adds 5 seconds and 10 seconds on respectively at rank 1 out of 2, also adding more damage and all that kind of stuff. Dark Glare lasts half a minute, and you also play Soul Rot here, so more Dark Glare damage from Visionary, more I-beam damage. At the same time, Soul Rot further empowers your Rapture cast, because Rapture damage is based off the number of dots you have active on the target. So more Rapture damage, much spikier. Dark Glare lasts longer, does more damage. And this build, once again, wants your Class Trinket. If you have Class Trinket, this build is better than Haunted Soul and Single Target by about 1,000-ish DPS. This build is the superior build for the most part, a bit dependent on kill times and things. If a boss dies when you get your Dark Glare back off cooldown and you don't pop it, Haunted Soul's better. If a boss is going to die after you pop your Dark Glare and it expires, say around a 440 kill time, and you have Class Trinket, Visionary is better. This build wants Class Trinket and Spoils on Altheris. This build looks for more, right here, it looks for more like Chromatic Essence, Vessel of Searing Shadows. Spoils on Altheris is fine too, but Class Trinket, not very good for this build. It's okay. These are your two options in single target again, Malevolent Visionary and Haunted Soul. Links to both down below. Now, when it comes to AoE builds for Affliction, there are a lot of variations. I have 5 variations here. I've ordered them sort of in like the order of like, I guess like best-ish to like, maybe not worst, but like where I'm looking to start, I guess, in 10.1.5 and go from there. Now, the first one here, this is the Grim Reach Dark Harvest build. This has been around for a long time. This has been like the de facto, I guess, best AoE build. And plus, you have Dark Harvest giving you a haste and crit amp whenever you cast Soul Rot, which its cooldown is reduced by by Gluttony here, which basically syncs Soul Rot with Vile Taint roughly-ish, depending when you're popping them. Basically giving you a pretty decent AoE profile every pack. Dark Glare is playing Malevolent Visionary. You're also playing Grim Reach here, which gives your Dark Glare the ability to AoE onto surrounding mobs that have dots on them, which makes it a very strong 2-minute cooldown in AoE. Now, this build has been like, once again, the, I guess, bread and butter go-to build for AoE for all of 10.1, even like 10.0 for the most part, but it is not playing Doom Blossom. Doom Blossom is the new talent, I guess the overhaul talent in 10.1.5, and Doom Blossom greatly supplements Seed, not Unstable Affliction. It means whenever you cast Seed, you're playing So in AoE, and as long as you're playing Doom Blossom, you have a UA on a target that's hit by Seed, you do a lot of damage when you cast Seed. So Doom Blossom basically supplements Seed of Corruption a tremendous amount. Now, my assumption is all the sims that I've run in AoE, Doom Blossom is ahead of non-Doom Blossom builds by a considerable amount. This is the build here, number 2 in the AoE list, being Doom Blossom Haunted Soul, that I'm likely going to start on when I play it in 10.1.5, day 1, day 2. You can put this point here either in Wrath or in Crescendo if you want to be a little bit more single target damage. It's a good rounded build, right? You're still playing Creeping Death, you're playing Xavius' Gambit, so single target increases, some AoE here too, I guess applicability wise. But Doom Blossom, big in AoE. When you cast Seed with a target having UA on it, the Seed hits it, it explodes, doing more damage. Doom Blossom's like 15% of your damage in AoE. It's very strong. And Seed's like 30 or something. It's crazy. It's a lot of damage in AoE. And applying Haunt with Haunted Soul also gives you a pretty consistent, a semi-consistent, I guess, single target kind of build. Also, Haunted Soul is a bit of extra damage in AoE. It is surrounding mobs, all that, a damage increase, and you're still playing Dark Glare here with either Wrath or Crescendo once again. I think this is a good starter build for 10.1.5, and it might even be the best build in general. We'll see where it goes. Now, the third build here is going to be Doom Blossom Dark Harvest. This build I think is likely the best, highest, most consistent AoE build over the Grim Reach Dark Harvest build now. This build, once again here, being superior because of just how strong, this build here, being superior just because of how strong Doom Blossom is when you cast Seed with So and AoE. The damage is exceptionally strong, and with this build, you basically get Soul Rot for the most part every single pack, allowing you to cast Seed faster, which has an increased crit chance from Dark Harvest, and it's just going to be exceptionally strong. You will have CDs being Soul Rot, Vile Taint, and Seed spam, as long as you're in a decent key or a relatively consistent AoE setting, basically every single pack, roughly every half a minute, which is a very, very strong damage profile. Now, this build is a bit lacking in single targets. You're not playing Haunted Soul. You're not playing Dread Touch. You're playing Dark Glare, but Dark Glare is pretty mediocre. It's not a very good cooldown unless you're playing Malevolent Visionary for single target applications. You're not playing Crescendo, or you're not playing Wrath of Consumption. So this build is going to be very, very, very heavy AoE based, but lacking a decent bit in the single target departments. Maybe more of a fortified build comparatively to maybe more of a tyrannical build playing something like this, which is a good middle ground, right? Now the last two builds here, we have Doom Blossom Grim Reach, which this is sort of similar, I guess, ish to the Doom Blossom Heart and Soul build. If you want your Dark Lair to be a bit more of a relevant cooldown, I suppose, a 2-minute cooldown, but a strong one in AOE. Still playing Doom Blossom, so good AOE supplementation. There's that if you want it. And this build here also is sort of worth mentioning. It's Haunted Soul Grim Reach, which brings a bit more, I guess, sustainable AOE with Haunted Soul. Also more single target relevancy, playing Haunted Soul and playing Grim Reach. For the most part, I don't think this build's worth playing really anymore. It's like pretty far down the list here, but I think it's worth mentioning. I'm starting with Doom Blossom Haunted Soul, day one, depending if it's tyrannical or fortified. And I might look towards this Doom Blossom Dark Harvest in a fortified a setting where I want more burst AoE, because this build can crank. There are a lot of variations here, but I've ordered it basically Grim Reach Dark Harvest, Doom Blossom Haunted Soul, and Doom Blossom Dark Harvest as like the 3 builds I probably look to play early on in the patch. We'll see where it goes. The big thing here with Aff, though, it's very customizable in the bottom row. These talents here, upwards, they don't change. You're still playing Siphon Life everywhere, playing Vile Taint everywhere, Soul Flame everywhere for the most part, Seed, Sow, all of that. The bottom row here, very customizable if you want more single target damage, want more AoE damage, or maybe you want a bit of a hybrid build that can play things like Doom Blossom, supplementing Seed and AoE, also playing Haunted Soul for a bit more single target. Aff is very customizable, and for the most part, links to all these builds down below in AoE, but I'm going to order them probably like 1, 2, and then 3, and I probably choose from these 3 early on based on the setting you're heading into. Now, when it comes to Affliction playing the Malevolent Visionary build in single target, opener-wise and rotation-wise, well, this is going to be the opener. Now, there is both the Malevolent Visionary build and the Haunted Soul build. We'll look at Haunted Soul in a minute here. I wanted to do both together, but it's too confusing, so we're going to do both separately. Once again, Malevolent Visionary build, one-shot class Trinket, as well as Spoils and Altheris. And yeah, let's go into it. The opener is basically the same for both. The only thing, you're not playing Soul Rot with the Haunted Soul build, so you just don't cast Soul Rot. Everything else is the same. But this is the Soul Rot build. This is Malevolent Visionary. So we're going to open up by precasting a Haunt to an Unstable Affliction, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, drain to 3 stacks of Shadow's Embrace right here. Then we're going to cast Vile Taint. We're going to cast Soul Rot, Trinkets, Potions. We're going to go Dark Glare. Then begin Rapture spamming. Rapture, Rapture, a Rapture again here. Why not? I'll typically save a Shard to refresh Dread Touch. That's fine. We're going to do this. We have 2 procs here. We're going to Rapture both ways away. Keep Rapturing, keep refreshing dots. Refresh my Unstable Affliction. Could have Raptured again there because it was getting ready to fall. My Soul Rot was. But for the most part, that's it. You want to maintain about a shard to refresh Dread Touch, but also make sure you don't overlap, too quickly your Dread Touch refreshes, right? So you want to sort of string it out a little bit so you can passively generate a few shards along the way, so you have more for your next Rapture window, which occurs basically every half a minute with Vile Taint being cast, and then a larger one every minute with Vile Taint and Soul Rot being paired together. Now you can cast 1 Vile Taint between each Soul Rot cast. The next one, which comes off CD right about here, you want to hold for the minute mark to pair with your Soul Rot, which is a little behind by about 5 or 10 seconds. Now I'm going to refresh dots here, refresh UA, refresh Siphon, refresh my Haunt. We're going to go Vile Taint, Soul Rot, and once again, begin the Rapture spam. Rapture, Rapture, Rapture. I'm going to drain briefly here. Rapture, Rapture, and catch my Corruption. Now, we couldn't dump all our shards. We wanted to dump the drain so we had a Nightfall proc, but either way, that's the gist of it. The big thing outside of that, you want to make sure that you're maintaining your Dread Touch. This is the buff right here. Dread Touch is your final talent on the left side of the tree. That makes your dots tick for more damage as long as it's active. And with Malefic Affliction being removed in patch 10.1.5, the first Rapture you cast in your opener, once you have Unstable Affliction on a target, will indeed trigger Dread Touch. And that's pretty much it. The balance is finding the flow of Raptures where you can pool shards for your next Rapture window without over-Rapturing. Without, let's say, hey, I have 6 seconds on my Dread Touch here. I'm going to, Rapture again because I have shards. No, you want to hold, unless you're in a Rapture window where you have Vile Taint or Vile Taint and Soul Rot active, you want to sort of string out the duration of your Dread Touch. So you're Rapturing again to refresh with like 3, 2-ish seconds remaining on your Dread Touch. So you can sort of passively pool shards and not overspend, so you have more once again whenever you apply your Vile Taint in or your Soul Rot or your Dark Glare. So you can have the max amount of raptures possible during those windows. And just to clarify, playing the Malevolent Visionary build, your Soul Rot is a 1-minute cooldown, your Dark Glare is a 2-minute cooldown. So basically, every Dark Glare will have a Soul Rot Vile Taint window in them. And once again, it goes Soul Rot, Vile Taint, 1 Vile Taint on its own, about half a minute later. And you hold the next Vile Taint for Soul Rot. And after that, it's a Vile Taint again by itself. And then once again, Vile Taint, Soul Rot, basically 2 minutes later after your first Dark Glare, with Dark Glare again. So it's a very simple flow, not too hard to follow or comprehend, just takes a bit of practice to get down. So when it comes to the Haunted Soul build of Affliction, opener-wise, it's actually very similar to the Malevolent Visionary build. The only difference, like I said, you're not playing Soul Rot here. You're going to cast Vile Taint on cooldown, sync it up with your Dark Glare when you can, and that's the gist of it. Now, as far as the opener is concerned, same thing pretty much. We're going to precast the Haunt here and do a precast Unstable Affliction, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, drain the 3 stacks of Shadow's Embrace right here, 2 stack, 3 stack, cast Vile Taint, Trinkets and Potions if you have them, cast your Dark Glare, and like usual, begin Rapturing. There's Dread Touch, dump your shards here. Typically, I'll maintain like 1 shard, like usual, to refresh Dread Touch or guarantee I can refresh it. While playing it pretty close to the chest, Rapturing now to refreshed. Open for Crescendo procs in our opener. Got 1, we can dump that there. Now, a big thing, if you get multiple Crescendo procs whenever, whether it's in your opener or whenever, it maxes out at 2. You don't want to sit on 2 stacks. Cast the second stack as soon as possible. Sitting on 1 stack is fine, but if you sit on 2, for example, you can lose value if you get 2 procs back to back. So I can hold this for a while, dump it there, and refresh Dread Touch, right? And that's sort of like the gist of how you sort of string along shard generation, maintaining Dread Touch, and all of that. Now, once again, we're casting Vile Taint on cooldown for the most part, so we were getting some pretty bad luck here, but we're going to cast Vile Taint in seconds anyways. I'm going to Rapture here. I'm going to cast Vile Taint. We're going to Rapture again. Refresh Corruption here. Cast my Haunt. I'll Rapture again here, roughly. Refresh my UA and Siphon Life. And once again, AF is very, very dependent on RNG at times, shard generation. Big thing, whether you have a lot of shard gen or a little bit, you want to make sure that you maintain Dread Touch, which is a very, very, very important part of it. If Dread Touch falls, all your dots do less damage. So make sure Dread Touch maintenance is happening basically above most everything else. So we're going to cast Vile Taint again here. Rapture a few times. Catch our Corruption. Rapture again here. Still maintaining Dread Touch. Cast 1 more Rapture there. Catch Siphon Life. Catch Haunt. And this is the gist of it. Maintain dots. Your fresh when they fall in the Pandemic range. I'll Rapture there because I have 2 stacks of Crescendo. Cast my UA here. Refresh my Agony. Rapture again here. We're going to cast Vile Taint in about 2 seconds here. Cast my Siphon Life. Vile Taint. And there is that. Now, there's one little thing here when it comes to casting Vile Taint on cooldown. Is that your Dark Glare is going to come off cooldown in about 3 seconds here. And I'm about 15-ish, maybe a little shorter, usually like 12-ish, off of casting my next Vile Taint. Now, with the way your tier bonus works, playing Haunted Soul and things, you're not holding for Soul Rot. You're casting it basically on cooldown. You want to cast your Vile Taints on cooldown. You're going to hold your Dark Glare for like 10-ish seconds. Cast Vile Taint when you can. Cast your Dark Glare. Spam Raptures. And that's it. Cast Trinket if you want here too, also, obviously. But that's the gist of it. AF is very simple when it comes to this stuff. It's just juggling dots. It might seem like it's a bit daunting and excessive, but honestly, when you play with it a bit, it really isn't that bad. And it's a very flat damage profile. So when it comes to Affliction and AOE, like I mentioned, there's a handful of builds you can play. I'm going to be showing you the Doom Blossom Haunted Soul build here, which is likely where I'm going to start off day 1 or day 2 of 10.15 and see where it goes. Now keep in mind, there are some builds, like I mentioned, that might end up playing Dark Harvest, which is your Soul Rot row, which brings Dark Harvest, Soul Eater's Gluttony, which can reduce the cooldown of your Soul Rot to become relatively aligned with your Vile Taint. Now your tier bonus in Aberrus reduces the cooldown of Vile Taint by 5 seconds, making it awkward because it will not reduce, I guess this will not reduce Soul Rot enough to sync with every Vile Taint. So there are times more of a judgment call, depending on packs going to die. You can cast your Vile Taint basically on cooldown without your second Soul Rot cast. But keep in mind, Soul Rot will be about 10-ish seconds behind your Vile Taint cast, so it has to be sort of a judgment call. If you can sync them together, obviously it's great. But at times, if you can squeeze in a Vile Taint before a pack dies, getting some relevant value out of it before, you know, everything just dies a second later, it's often at times worth doing, and then having the Soul Rot ready with the next Vile Taint for the next pack you're heading into. Either way, if you're playing a Soul Rot Dark Harvest Gluttony build, It gives you a consistent AoE damage profile, basically every pack with a decent sync on Vile Taint and Soul Eater's Gluttony, Soul Rot, and all that stuff. I'm going to show you the Doom Blossom Haunted Soul build here, which is where I'm starting day 1 most likely, and yeah, so let's take a look at that. Now, let me stack my pet here. The big thing, when you're heading into a pack, typically, I'm sitting here, I have 3 shards. In Mythic Plus, you'll usually have 4 to 5, 4-ish, I guess, by snapping mobs, things dying, and all that. But I'm not in Plus right now, so I have 3 shards. So, let's say the tank's running into the pack. I'll precast a Seed of Corruption. Let's say on this one here, Seed of Corruption. I'll cast Vile Taint, cast Unstable Affliction, cast Haunt, cast my Trinket, Potion, Dark Lair, whatever, and begin casting Seed of Corruption. Just seed, seed, seed. I'm getting some good refunds here. Seed, seed, seed again. I'm at 330k. I'm at 350k. I'm at 360k. Doom Blossom is 21% of my damage. Seed is 40%. And that's the gist of it. Now, you won't always get that good of refunds every pack. Cast Vile Taint on cooldown again here. Once again, we're not playing Soul Rot in this build. Besides that, just keep casting Seed and AoE and have Seed and Doom Blossom carry you. And it's pretty strong. Now, once again, if you're playing Soul Rot, you can cast Soul Rot after your Vile Taint cast and then begin spamming Seed after Dark Lair, and it works all the same. That'll give you a bit more of an amp to your haste and crit for spamming Seed. And at the same time, if you're playing a build like this that has Grim Reach in it, you're going to want to apply Siphon Life to the main target your Dark Lair is hitting in AoE. The same target that has UA on it, Siphon Life, all that, that target, the one your Dark Lair is hitting, basically Grim Reach takes the damage. It counts the number of dots on that target, and Grim Reach extrapolates all the damage out onto surrounding mobs. So Siphon Life counts as an extra dot, which means Grim Reach, AoE I-Beam, does more damage. So if you're playing Grim Reach and you're popping your Dark Lair, apply Siphon Life to your main mob in AoE, and watch your damage go, well, pretty high. But either way, Seed of Corruption, Doom Blossom, a handful of combinations here. AF AoE is not too hard. Cast Vile Taint on cooldown for the most part, unless you're syncing it with your Soul Rot, with Gluttony, and Seed / Doom Blossom, Soul Flame will carry you. Now, when it comes to like Affliction Warlock trinkets and gearing and things, if you're playing the Malevolent Visionary build, you're going to want to have your Clash Trinket and Spoils of Notherius. Both these trinkets together, they're essentially 2 double unused trinkets. You can pop this unused with your Dark Lair, and your Clash Trinket triggers whenever you summon your Dark Lair, giving you a very large intellect buff per the number of stacks you accrued randomly over the last 2 minutes between your Dark Lair casts. So basically, you can pop 2 essentially unused trinkets together, one being pure actually unused, one being an equip unused trinket for a large damage increase, which also means your Dark Lair is doing more damage with Malevolent Visionary, your Raptures are hitting a lot harder. It's a very large burst of damage every 2 or so minutes. Now, if you're not playing the Malevolent Visionary build, if you're playing the Haunted Soul build, Spoils of Notherius is still fine for that build. Clash Trinket's okay for that build. Other options are Vessel of Searing Shadows from Amalgamation Chamber, and Forgotten Experiments has a trinket called Ominous Chromatic Essence, which is also pretty good. Haunted Soul has a much flatter damage profile, which means that you're doing more consistent damage, but not as spiky as the Malevolent Visionary build. So both are fine, but in the end, if you have your Clash Trinket and your Spoils of Notherius, more often than not, the Malevolent Visionary build is going to be your best option. Now, as far as stat rates are concerned, the general priority you can follow is Haste, then Mastery, then Crit, then Verse. Now, there's a lot of Haste Mastery gear in Aberrus. Affliction is pretty haste mastery heavy. The best thing for you to do for your own character is to go to raidbots.com and run a top gear sim with different gems and enchants taken into account, because my character might want haste and mastery or crit and versatility, but your character might vary greatly depending on your own gearing. My gear varies from yours, so in the end, I can't tell you what you want exactly. If you don't want to do that, you can follow haste, mastery, crit, then verse, but keep in mind, you're likely losing damage not running the sim. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I answered the questions you might have had about Affliction Warlock heading into patch 10.15. I'm really excited. Quality of life for AF is, I think, through the roof. And Warlock has steadily been getting a little, I feel like, better and better, more exciting, more fluent, all the above, every patch we've gotten, whether it's 10.05, 10.1, 10.1.5, and I think we're actually in a pretty good spot. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, if you have any questions, put them down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys. And like always, once again, week Warcraft add-ons and profiles, links to Twitch and Discord down below. We're all for free for you guys. And once again, before we end the video, one huge shout out again to my patrons. Guys, we're all supporting on Patreon again. Thank you a million times. I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be linked up here, as well as down below in the video description. Now, I do think that Affliction is probably the most, how do I word this? Probably the worst spec out of Demo Destro AF in 10.1 currently in Mythic Plus. However, That doesn't mean that it's bad. I think Demo and Dash are just a bit better of damage profiles. I can sort of talk here. A bit better damage profiles. We'll see where it goes, because like the Seed cast time reduction, Doom Blossom, Xavius' Gambit, and just a huge quality life increases honestly make a big difference. And hopefully AF can rise back to being solid like it used to be. And losing with Left Affliction is a step in the right direction. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.